And and what kind of classes are you teaching? I don't know if we covered the type of classes.
Yeah, no, we haven't.
What type of classes are you teaching as a professor?
Sure. So I teach the Introduction to Law course, and because I'm the department chair and the one full-time faculty member, I feel like that's important for me to meet all of those incoming students right away. And then this semester, I'm teaching legal research, and I'm also teaching torts. And I have also taught corporations. I taught that in the summer. What else? Contracts I've taught before. I think that might be it for American River. I think that's it for American River. I've taught interviewing and investigating, which is not like a paralegal per se course, but I think it's not like a subject matter course, right? Not a substantive area of law course, but I think it was a really interesting quarter to have taught that at Cal State East Bay. We got some good techniques for interviewing, whether you're interviewing, your best friend or, potential witness. We got some good strategies out of that course.
What are the requirements for someone to become a paralegal?
So paralegal under the law, it's Business and Professions Code 6400, all that follows that. And you actually have to go to a paralegal school, get some paralegal education, whether it's a degree or a certificate to actually call yourself or legitimately call yourself a paralegal here in California. So for American River, all you do is you enroll in the classes. You have to have an English writing requirement met, but then other than that, you can sign up. If you do not have an AA degree or higher, then in order to get your paralegal degree, you have to complete the general education requirements, and you can get an AA in paralegal studies. If you already have an AA degree or higher, then you can get a certificate, which means you're just taking the legal education classes with us that will prepare you to be a paralegal. And then right now, California doesn't have any kind of a certification exam, but I think it's headed that way. Like attorneys, we have to pass the bar. And so they're trying to push for paralegals to also be certified. There's also this new area of law that's going to be like a hybrid between paralegals and attorneys that's developing a new area of a new practitioner focus that's developing, but we don't have all the information about that yet. But there's some other states like Washington and Nevada that have this. It's an LLT or triple LT, limited something legal technician. So in Utah, actually, those LLTs who have been trained as paralegals and had extra training on top of that can represent folks in unlawful detainer actions and debt collection proceedings, and I think some family law. And the idea is to increase access to justice, where folks who might not have enough money for an attorney can get a legal technician to help them out in those limited circumstances.
What are your thoughts as an attorney on the possibility that they may create a hybrid role that is between a paralegal and an attorney?
Yeah, I think it's fine for me. A lot of attorneys really don't like it because they're fearful of the competition, but really they're not your competition, right? Because if someone doesn't want to pay your legal fees, they don't want to pay your legal fees, no matter who else is out there, right? So the rate that they're going to be paying the technician is not the same rate that you'd pay an attorney because you have different education experience, but that choice is up to the person who wants to pay or not pay. I think also on the justice side, I think it's really good because, unlawful detainer people are being kicked out of their homes, right? And if you don't have enough money to pay rent, you definitely have to really think about how much money you have to pay an attorney to represent you, right? And debt collection, your debt because you don't have any money, right? So why not? And these things also really affect people of color. So if we can get, and the court system is where you're trying to fix these things. So if we can get people more representation at a lower rate to help them keep their homes, clear their debt, and also family law. I mean, so many people have been touched by the family law system. And if you're a family law attorney, you can make some really good money if you have those high value clients, high net worth clients, right? But the average everyday person also goes through a divorce or is separated or needs to figure out child custody. And it's a mess when you go into court, family law or otherwise, and you don't know what you're doing. So I think it would really improve not only the access, but it would resolve things more quickly if we can get additional representation from folks who are trained in those specific areas of law.
Yeah, I disagree. I think that I think that I think that like in workers' comp, for instance,
Hmm.
people there's hearing reps, so you can appear in court and not be an attorney.
Right.
So, and I think that authorizing that in unlawful detainers would be fine
Hmm.
in certain areas of law. But at the same time, there's a fine line, and I haven't seen all the legislation. I've seen the proposals through the state bar
Right.
between creating more opportunities for people to get some representation
Hmm.
and devaluing the service of an attorney.
Right. But
Because go ahead.
I think that there's a whole segment of the population that just doesn't have enough resources to come to attorneys anyway, right? So I think that there will be some who could pay an attorney who are now going to pay, a legal technician to do it. But I think that, I mean, I get questions all the time. And part of it is that I'm at a community college, right? And so the campus has 33,000 enrollments, and I'm the one legal person that people can get access to. So I get questions all the time about child custody stuff and dissolutions and, restraining orders and, that kind of a thing. And I, send out referrals to attorneys and they can't afford them. And so they're just not getting that. And think about like almost everybody I know their parents have been divorced, right? They're
Right.
like almost everybody gets touched by the family law system, especially. And the ones who it's tough for the parents, but it's really hard for the kids, really hard. So I think if we can get and it's a mess, when you get in there and you get emotional and you're watching these people represent themselves and they're emotional, it's a mess. It's a complete mess. And I think especially if nowhere else, but especially in family law, if there could be representatives who can handle maybe simple matters, maybe not all of the stuff, I think it would do good for society actually.
All right. But how do you feel about, for instance, when you were doing the business formation?
Uh-huh.
What would you tell people to be like, Asha, should I hire you or should I go to LegalZoom? Or
Yeah. So I tell people that already, right? I tell people that, when you hire me, you get all of my knowledge and expertise, right? And if you're doing it on your own, you're getting only your knowledge and expertise.
right,
But also there's already a legal document assistant is a thing in California, right? And most people I don't think know about LDAs. I didn't know about them until I started teaching. And you have to have the paralegal training or education, or I think you have to be working for 10 years as a paralegal prior to like 1996 to be able to do this. But legal document assistants are only there to fill out paperwork for people. So they're really big in family law, mainly family law and like other kind of form-based areas of practice. But it's that, I think it's that population, right? Because if they could go and hire a family law attorney, right, then they would do that and they wouldn't be worried about filling out the forms. But there's a lot of people who can't hire, and so they go to LDAs anyway. LDAs are not allowed to give legal advice, but who knows what people are doing in the practice. But they will say, I mean, they should have on their website and stuff, I'm not an attorney, not allowed to give legal advice. And so it's kind of like that. You're relying on your own knowledge of what you're supposed to be putting on these forms. They can only put down what you have told them to put down. So, that's a little bit better than LegalZoom because they know how to fill the forms out correctly. But I just think about, people seem to get it when you talk about medicine. You wouldn't ask your podiatrist to remove a brain tumor from your head, right? So
right,
go to the people who are experts when you need expert advice. Try not to be cheap about it. I mean, you got to find someone that you can afford, but you're going to pay for it now or you're going to pay for it later. And we went to school to be really good at what we do. And we are good at what we do, but the choice is yours. If you want to use my knowledge and expertise, then good, we'll work it out. And if you don't, then that's fine. That's your choice to make. And I also tell people, go to somebody who has a license to lose. We have a standard of professionalism of conduct and a standard of knowledge that we have to adhere to as attorneys. And if we mess up and if we fall below what that standard is, there's our license on the line. You go to your neighbor or your friend down the street who's like, oh yeah, you should form a corporation. Why? Just because they give you bad advice. And what's the repercussion? You're upset with them, but nothing happens to them, right? You got
Right.
it out.
Right. I mean, that's a great point. I mean, I think that there's some areas of law. I guess my question is that there's some areas of law where that makes sense. But I just need to see a little bit more of the setup. But like, I feel like I'm that old guy yelling, "Get off my lawn!"
Right.
but I mean, that's definitely my initial reaction because I know like how hard it was to get through law school, pass the bar, and like learn it. So like, there was no shortcuts there. So that's why.
None whatsoever. I think it would really be the areas that are really underrepresented. The folks who are generally underrepresented now. I don't think it would be a whole lot of like client stealing from attorneys, and that practice areas, like we said, would be limited as well.